What's your routine?
Mm.
Because I think this is really important.
The principles are no stone unturned, no minute unaccounted for. What do you do when you're trying to rebuild a marriage and it doesn't seem to be working? Interesting.
I think
I guess it blew water. What? What is in there?
it's water.
No, it's not. Disgusting. What did you put in there?
It's my beverage.
Oh my gosh. The next episode is going to be called Trapped in a Marriage with a wife that spikes drinks mid-podcast. Somebody help me. Highlights on Family. Thank you for allowing me to quickly let you know about one of our amazing sponsors. We partnered with Fabric by Gerber Life Term Insurance, and they have a lot to offer, and that's why I'm taking time in this pod to let you know about it. I know I speak for most parents when I say we absolutely love our kids, and we believe the future is absolutely bright for them. And we also know the future is unpredictable. And that is exactly where Fabric by Gerber Life Insurance comes in. They offer modern, flexible term life insurance designed to fit your lifestyle. So whether you're planning for the future or just want a little bit more peace of mind, it's a really, really smart move. And you can get this done right from your couch or your car, wherever you're listening or watching this pod. It's all online, and it's according to your schedule. And you can get covered in like 10 minutes. So Fabric has flexible, high quality policies that fit your family and your budget, like $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day. And they've been trusted by families just like yours for over 50 years. So just try it out, check it out. You can apply today at meetfabric.com/lightson. It's meetfabric.com/lightson. And these policies are issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states, and the prices are subject to underwriting and health questions, but make sure you check it out today. Lights On with Laura Jane Lentz.
Hello.
How are you, love?
Great. Oops.
You feel comfy? You look gorgeous.
Yep. I'm ready.
Gorgeous. It's great to have you. I said last night to Roman, he said, who you got on the pod tomorrow? Who's the guest? I said, Mom, really ruffled your feathers.
I'm not the guest.
What are you?
I
It's your podcast, but you can barely make it. Give me a shout
It's
out.
actually not
Lights
my
on
podcast,
fans.
though.
It is our podcast, but I'm saying really got you. You made a huge point about how you're not a guest. I'm not a guest. So thanks for co-hosting.
Yep.
Our pod. Why do you think you're a naturopath? I've been waiting to ask you this.
What?
You always are touting your new holistic health stuff.
Yeah.
Sick of it because it's inconsistent.
It's not inconsistent.
can't-
I don't take any Tylenol or Advil because I try to do other things. What's wrong with that?
Well, it's just
Advil is terrible for you. Don't you watch Dr. What's his name? Hyman?
Amen?
No, not him.
No.
There's a bunch of them. But anyway.
But my point is, you can't, on one hand, bring all your ingredients to the table and judge everyone, and then I'll catch you eating a whole bucket of true fruit.
It's true fruit, firstly.
Whatever it is. My point is, you're not a holistic healer. You have to be one or the other.
It's got fruit in it and chocolate. Both are good.
What we're going to do, thank you for tuning in to Lights On. We love you very much.
We had a bunch of people send in some questions.
Yeah, we're going to do, this is going to be a deluxe Q&A. And these are my favorite things. And what we discovered on this last one is it's led us to like a series of ways to kind of chop this up. Because when we ask for questions,
There's
people,
so many.
They're really honest. And so first of all, thank you for the people who send that stuff in. It really matters to us. And it's hard not to get to everything. But there's 3 categories that typically come at us. And normally it's marriage, having to do with breakups, infidelity, all that stuff. And then you've got parenthood.
Get past that, or are we in that?
No, unfortunately, we're never
I feel like we're
past that.
probably going to be.
And then parenthood, which is a big deal to a lot of people. And then church. So I'm just going to like do a whole pod on answering questions about church, mega church. Will we ever preach again? What do I think about pastors? Just there, some questions are awesome. Other questions are common, maybe not so awesome, but they're fair. And so we're just going to have a whole thing on that. So, but today we're just going to shoot from the hip. And thanks for doing this. This is great. Intro question.
What's it like getting older?
What? Wow, you're coming with the good questions today.
I like that one.
I love getting older.
Yeah.
I'm 46.
46. And
I feel great. I think when you get to a certain age, you start really focusing on your health and how you feel and all of that, mentally, physically, what you're putting in your body, all of those things. So I'm super focused on that right now, and I feel great about it.
yeah,
So I like getting older.
I'm a semantical weirdo, and I always say I'm not getting older, I'm just getting better. And I really believe that. A smart guy told me nothing really happens until you're 50. And I don't disagree with that. I think like you become who you are, progressively.
He said you find yourself at 50.
I can attest to that. So I remember thinking when I was in my 20s, like 46,
So old.
out to the pasture with that guy. And then when you're 46, you're like, no, I'm actually just getting started. So I think getting older, the only differences I feel in my body are just the recovery time. Like
There's a few aches and pains that we never had before.
Like I feel,
Herniated discs.
I mean, this isn't about me. If it was, I would talk about my in-body scan, which I just got, which puts me at the peak top 1% of all 46. No, it's not about that.
It's not
If
about
it was, I would talk about.
Do you want me to talk about it? So
no, it's not about me. But if I wanted to bring in my scan, which I may or may not have in my back pocket, just to point to
your
how
doctor
healthy I
did
am.
say you got your blood work. So
Yeah,
we get our blood work every 6 months or so because we're, again, super conscious of all of that health.
For sure.
But yours came back and she said,
Well, I mean, it is a quote. So I mean, she just said it was the healthiest 46-year-old blood scan she's ever seen. That's not a big deal. If it was, I would just hang out here for a while.
Yeah, I feel like
not
you
about me. Let's
frame
make it
that.
about me. My point is, I think you can get better as you go. And so with age, I've noticed, my body's a bit more sore. Been playing ball with Roman lately. By the way, huge highlight I'm going to share with everybody. Top 3 proudest moments of my life as a dad. So Roman just started playing ball, and it's a lot of fun. And so we're playing full court together, and I'm just trying to show him as much as I am, tell him, teach him and stuff. And a lot of basketball is mental. A lot of basketball is confidence. And we have that in spades in our house. We might not be the most athletic people. We will out-talk you forever. I will own your soul within 4 minutes of the game. So we're playing, and I have a thing that I say when anybody else shoots, I immediately say, hell no, because it's a way to disparage them, steal a little bit of their confidence.
Yeah.
And it's not too bad, but it's bad, and it just gets the game started off on the right foot. So of course I'm yelling that all game. Every time someone shoots, hell no. So Roman, he's to my left, and he's guarding this guy, and I hear Roman say to this guy, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Turns his back on the guy who proceeds to miss a jump shot. And I just stood there and I thought,
proud
core memory right here. Like the fact that he on his own put that together and looked at a grown man and said, I don't believe you.
I love it.
It was incredible.
That actually makes me proud.
That's the growth. Your son might be able to read Bible verses. Maybe your son's good at algebra.
He can also read Bible verses.
But can your son break off a spontaneous trash talking moment that makes you proud? Bet you he can. So it's not a competition. If it was winning. But anyway, to go back to that, I think as you get older, everything does shift the way you see things. Anything you notice more now, because we did say as we get older, we're sitting in an airport, and there is no place like an airport.
Oh, I love
to get your fix of judging people. Might not be healthy, but it doesn't mean it's not awesome. And we don't judge, we observe, but it is fun.
Right. Well, I did go on a rant last week on my Instagram story because I was tired.
What did you see? I didn't see it.
I said a few things, but I was just talking about the loudness of children.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
And just how fascinating people are on a plane and the lack of etiquette that happens when you're getting off the plane and how people stand straight away instead of, why don't we just wait in our seats until it's your turn? Like we all know how you get off a plane. It's from front to back. Like, so just wait. But instead you've got these guys getting up in front of, they climb over people to get up. And I think it's so...
Enough's enough, right?
Yeah.
That's why
so anyway, I went on a rant and then I
have a podcast is to talk about stuff just like that.
Yeah. And then I put it on my Instagram, and then, you get your people that laugh, and I'm like, obviously we have more grown children now, which you wouldn't know that they were well behaved as they were little, because now when we're out in public, they're horrendous sometimes because they're just swinging on, when you're on the trains at the airports, they're like swinging on the bars and just doing things. Not my point. But I got so many people like laughing and going, I've tried to tell my kid, they're just so loud. Like they just talk loud and blah, blah, blah. But then you get other people who are like, oh, you've forgotten that your kids were probably just as bad. And I'm like,
those people, hey,
like, really?
It leads me to this quick thing. Possible suggestion for humanity. Those people on Instagram, if you're one of these people, I want you to listen closely.
The haters?
If not even haters, if you comment on somebody's public post from behind an account that is not public, stop doing that.
Oh yeah, the private ones. Yeah,
it's always that person.
I just block them.
Like, so yeah, but I always sometimes I'll look, and of course, the most critical people do it from behind private accounts. So I don't care about your reasons for why they're private. I don't. Just don't make public disparaging comments on others if you yourself don't have enough courage to at least open up your own IG. So stop it. Thank you. Everyone agrees with me. If that applies to you, great. You're welcome. Let's just make the world better. I've never once left a critical comment in any space ever. I don't understand.
I don't understand it either.
Anyway, okay. So this leads me to a question about kids, which is actually important, and it flows really well. I think someone said, "What do we see that parents do that is wrong?" And I don't think it's a wrong thing, but what we have observed is that parents are letting their kids run wild, and it's got to stop.
It's this generation, though.
Well, yeah, I'll give you a case in point.
I think we might have been the last.
For instance, does the phrase inside voice matter to anyone anymore? Because Kathy and Steve Lentz were really big on teaching us, hey, there's an outside voice, inside voice, and it teaches you an awareness for others. What I see now, I'm not sure that phrase even exists.
No, it does for some. Remember, we were last week. So
that
example
was awesome.
But we were in a coffee shop. There was the day before we were in a coffee shop, and the kid was next to us yelling. Like I don't think he meant to. I think he was just talking really loud. And the parents didn't do anything. He was so loud.
Yeah,
and he wasn't disruptive. He was just talking loud. Next day, same sort of thing. Like a little girl was sitting there, but the mum and the grandma were there, and they were saying, "Hey, we're in a restaurant. Use your inside voice." And I was like, "Thank God."
Yeah,
I just think it's so important to be like teaching your kids. We've talked about this a lot, but it's not about disciplining or like crushing their spirit or crushing their creativity or all that. It's teaching them to be self-aware. And you can do that. And I said, you can start at 6 months. Someone was like, 6 months is a little. And I'm like, it's just the concept of it. I'm not saying that you do that, but it's just like,
we did that.
Hey, you're in a restaurant. Let's use our inside voice. It's different from when you're outside.
Right.
And you can do that at home as well.
Yeah.
But I think, and then I also did talk about how if your kids are acting up in public and climbing on things and doing that, maybe you could try and do that at home. Some of the things that you don't want them to do in public, you start that at home, like climbing on furniture or like yelling and throwing things or banging. You can teach them that at home. That would be great. So we didn't have to deal with that in public. I'm just saying. That's just a parenting tip from...
Well, I think you're one of the best...
We don't know a lot, but...
We do know a lot, and I think you're one of the best child shapers I've ever been around. Like, I leaned on a lot of your wisdom with our own kids, but I see the point in the suggestion being teach your kids that the world doesn't revolve around them. And so me and Roman are in the airport the other day, and some kid runs... I mean, it's packed in this Denver airport, and this kid's playing with toys right in the middle of this thing, and someone else fell over, and the parents are just sitting there watching it. So the like, message to the child is, welcome to your world, where everyone's going to walk around you forever. Leads me to another time I'm on a plane where there's this child banging the seat in front of her, just yelling, not crying, just yelling. And the mom goes, she hates it when I tell her not to do stuff. We're all like, oh great, thanks. So we get to deal with this diabolical child for 5 hours because you have yet to inform her that life isn't about you. So I think there is a fine line between letting your kids be kids. We were always into that. But when it comes to that issue, what it becomes is an entitlement thing. Right. And I was with with my friend Cody, shout out to Cody Jefferson. We're sitting there at a coffee shop, and there was adults next to us, and they were talking so loud that I could barely, that's my pet peeve.
Oh yeah.
And I had to stop and say, Cody, I gotta let them finish because I can't even. And it's like they never considered that there's other people in this coffee shop. And I think there's a world right now that says good for them.
Yeah.
That's what they should do. Like
Right.
people should, and I just don't subscribe to that. I don't think most reasonable humans subscribe to it. But when it comes back to parents, what we always try to do with our kids is say, hey, when we're in public, we're going to use inside voice because we want to respect other people's space. That's all.
Correct.
It's a very simple concept. So we always have grace for the parents that are sweating and stressed and they're trying. It's like all you got to, and then you can help and you can advocate, but it's the parents that look like this is the way it is.
Yeah.
Like my kid's going to kick the back of your chair this whole flight and you're going to deal with
You're
it.
going to be fine with
That parent, we're going to pray for her. But yeah, so it was a good question. What do we see in kids? I think that would be, and it's just people letting their kids do stuff over and over. We see that a lot, like, which goes directly into the next question. How do we feel about spanking?
Oh, you're going to go there.
Well, it's a Q&A, babe. We said we're just going to fire from the hip, so I'm going to read them as I got them. How do we feel about spanking? Do you want me to? I'll share this because I have changed my views over the years a little bit, but in general, we're Christians. We think the Bible's pretty clear about loving your children and using discipline in a way that makes them grow. So I say, if someone were to say, do you agree with spanking? I'd say yes and no. Like if you do it correctly, you do it very infrequently. So it's a very simple process. Like, did we ever spank our kids? Not really. We did it's called the Australian lip flick. So for those of you listening and not watching this, Laura, our kids would, get a warning. And then by the second one, Laura would flick them, bink, right in their lip. And my gosh, you've never seen someone grow faster.
Well, it's their attention.
And it wasn't, and so we were never really big. Like I have a friend who I love dearly, and she's like, at no time is spanking okay, because how can we equate violence and trauma with teaching? And she's been on her own roads. I get that. I don't have really a defense or a response for that. I just don't see it like that. I think if you're spanking your child, in a way that's controlled and it's intentional and it's thought out, I think that you don't have to do it anymore. If you're spanking your kid all the time, it's either the spanking's wrong or the kid needs some different kind of help.
Yeah, and the parent probably needs to deal with their own issues.
So we are not, it's our podcast, we could give you our view. If you're asking what we've done with our children and what we advise other couples to do when it comes to spanking, is just weigh up, what are you trying to create? So if you want to create a child that has 19 opportunities to change before they come to their own conclusion, cool. Maybe spanking's not for you. If you want to have diplomacy in your house, spanking's not for you. I didn't want a diplomacy. I wanted a dictatorship. That's what we have. I'm the dad. I am not your peer. This is not a jury.
My gosh.
You're not going to make a case for me. No, I'm the dad. That's your mom. We call the shots around here. If you don't like it, you can pay your own bills and go somewhere else.
Well, now they're all grown. They discuss.
They discuss now.
So,
but it really worked. So that aspect of things worked for us because there was an inherent level of respect. But the spanking with objects.
What do you say to people who use the scripture, spare the rod, spoil the child?
Well, it depends on who's using it. I think that Christians love to use verses like that and then not be aware that they don't use any other literal scriptures like that. So that's the first thing. But I believe the principle of what that is saying is if you don't discipline your child, you will destroy them. That's my interpretation of that scripture.
Yeah, it's just about
spare the rod, spoil the child. So it's like,
necessarily
does it need to be a rod? Was that God's intent with that scripture, to go get a rod and make sure you beat your child with it? I would propose no. The point is, like, we're here to help cultivate these little people. So for parents, I think the question is like, what kind of child do you want? What kind of environment do you want? So if you want to deal with a lot of talking back the rest of your life, cool, that's your choice. There's a direct outcome for that choice. For us, we wanted to teach them respect and honor and quick change. So I can't remember multiple times I spanked any of our kids.
Yeah.
I can remember one time each, but that's it.
Yeah.
So I think there's a cool balance. So if that helps some parents, great. Everyone has to do their own journey. We don't really judge unless we're in the privacy of our own home. Then we judge to death, and it's fantastic. Feels great. But outside, we don't judge. We just pray for you. Yeah. Trust. We're judging. Okay. Well, here's a question number 2. What do you do when you're trying to rebuild a marriage and it doesn't seem to be working? Interesting.
I think then someone's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Because if you're both working with the same goal in mind, which is healing of the marriage,
Yeah.
then it should be working. So I would go back and be like, where is the disconnect?
Mm.
So someone's either like too proud to like make the change. Yeah. I don't know.
No, it's good. I think I reframe it, of course,
Of course.
and I ask a question: what's your expectation?
Mhm.
Because if you're working, it's always working.
Mm.
And even if it looks like it's not working, that is work. So if one person is working on the marriage and the other person isn't, and it's like, this isn't working, I would propose a different thought there.
Yeah.
Like, because you're working, it's proving that someone else isn't. And that's a beautiful part of the process. So I think to break it down on a different level, you're not stuck unless you choose to think that. So if you are in a marriage reconciliation or even a marriage trying to get better, I like these questions. What areas can you own? How much are you willing to give? And what's your expectation? That makes it real easy. So like, me and you are having an issue. My first checklist is, what areas can I own? And then how much am I willing to give? And then what's my expectation? And that clears it right up. So whoever said that,
Expectation one is huge.
Huge, like-
I think that's the biggest piece.
we found out couples rarely ask each other. So they're alluding to things, but you say, well, what's your actual expectation? And they don't have something to say.
Right.
So it's a beautiful thing to clear up, to make it really, my expectation is for you to never use those words again.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know. I need to know, because if your expectation is for me to grow progressively and there's not a real big clear handle on that leaves it open to me. But yeah, expectation is huge. Yeah, so hopefully that helps. So whoever asked that question, it's beautiful. I would propose it's working better than you think. And if you work on your side of the tracks, that is the only thing you can control. And our experience is that takes care of almost everything. This is a good one. And this is a church one. And I'm going to like do a whole pod on church stuff, but this was a one that I've heard enough to bring it to the deluxe Q&A portion of Lights On. How do I navigate balance with my kids' activities and with my church, because my church makes me feel guilty?
Classic.
It is unfortunately classic. Do you want to speak to that, my love? Or
I don't like the fact that anyone feels guilty coming to church
or not coming?
or not coming to church. So I wouldn't care. I'd be like, my family's first.
Right.
And if my kid has something on a Sunday every now and then, it is what it is. It's just a season. It's not like you stop going or whatever it is. So I think, I get people, church pastors and stuff, they want you to be at church, obviously, because it fills the seats. I get it. But I think if we can focus on families as well, that'd be nice. You probably have a more reframed answer.
No, I love, we both answer the same thing the same way. So I think, like, my church makes me feel guilty.
You're going to say no one can make you feel anything.
I relate to it. I understand where they're coming from, because it always bugged me before when I was in ministry, and bugs me now because, so for instance, this is what it sounds like. You got to teach your kids to prioritize the house of God. Don't be surprised if you go on a traveling soccer game 2 weeks in a row, and then when they're 20, they ain't been to church in 20 years. You ask me to pray for your team? No, I'm not going to do it. Get them in the house, okay? That guy is in Kerrville, Texas. I'm just kidding. But so my thing is, what's the point? What's the point of this? Like, the point of church, one of them, obviously a byproduct, is to create, healthy families, healthy dynamics. And for me, I think it's beautiful. If you're in a season where your kid is like a star, or maybe he's pursuing an endeavor, I think it's okay to be able to say, hey, for the next couple months, we're going to be in and out of church. Church is our passion. We invest in it. It's a huge deal in this family. It's a priority. And ultimately,
just tell your kids
the
that.
dad is the pastor in that house that matters the most. So if you can frame it correctly and let your kids know, like, church is a huge deal to us. And we also have this amazing budding season here of you being an athlete, and we're going to keep it balanced. We're going to keep it within reason. This isn't going to be our pattern, but we're in a season right now where we're going to be in church once a month for the next 5 months, because I'm going to go see my boy play. Go, Dad. Yeah. Do you. And if you feel guilty, you got to look at the surroundings, because not every church is like that. And if you have a pastor that's like, you need to be here every single week, I'd say, okay, well, what's that about? explain more, tell me more, because to me, it's the principle. Like if you're invested and you're anchored and you're giving and you're a part of a community that you love, well, you shouldn't be fearful when you have to go through a season where you take a step back from that. That's a sign of a bad, unhealthy church. So for what it's worth, for those asking, if you have one of those crazy, especially if you have multiple kids, the
Right.
last thing you want to be doing is walking around feeling guilty because on top of this, now you've let your pastor down. Handle your family, handle your kids, stay accountable, have somebody know you're in a season where you might not see me as much, or maybe put a plan together, but live free. Life is too short to enjoy that season of your kids doing what they're doing. They're going to be out of your house in 7 years.
So quick.
And then you could be in church every single Sunday, okay? So I do have a particular pointed response when I hear pastors saying things like that. Like, all these kids, all these parents letting their kids play traveling sports. It's God's day on Sunday. It's God's day every day, my guy, firstly.
Yep.
Secondly, enjoy your life. Live your life. What is the fruit?
Prioritize your
Be
family.
honest about the fruit. So if you go through a season where you are out of church and you know the fruit in your household is not what you want, then you reevaluate it. But as a whole, your motivation has to be what's best for my family, what's healthy, not guilty motivation. So that's our take on it. Pretty clear.
Very clear. Next.
And don't forget, all these are just our ideas. We're not always right.
Questions and responses.
Yeah, we're not always right. We're only right 99% of the time. And I just got to be honest about that. I don't want people thinking that we think we're always right. That is not true. I think I'm right 99% of the time. If my spouse is the one that cheated and does not want to do therapy, what do I do? Lozzie, you want to speak to that? You want me to jump in there? I see your judgmental eyes darting.
It's not judgmental.
It was.
There's not much you can do if you don't have someone that wants to go to therapy. I think it shows a lot.
I think it shows a whole lot. Yeah. I think what I would say to that, are you done? I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah, I'm good.
That still happens, by the way.
You still cut me
will
off.
send me a
100%.
couple. I don't cut you off. That's the thing.
You do all the time.
Damn it.
It's fine. I'm used to it.
Okay, so if the spouse is cheated and they don't want to do therapy, to echo what Laura said, it's very clear what's going on there. This is the response you're looking for if you are the one that has been betrayed. You want to hear somebody say, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And the smallest, most minimal baseline level would be something like, of course, I'm willing to go to therapy. Because to get in a position where you betray your wife and your family and all the values you hold dear, you didn't get there in a day. You got some seriously broken issues in your life that can be healed, for sure. But if you're the spouse who's waiting on this person, I would advise to, make some moves. Put yourself in a safe position, because if you're not seeing that right away, it tells you a lot. And we can't tell you what to do with that evidence, but the evidence is on the table. So you've broken my trust, you betrayed our family, and you're hesitant to do work to make up for it. What's the question? There is no question. He's already answered all those questions. And I'll say this about the work. Work, when it comes to this kind of soul work, it should be very uncomfortable. And I do meet some people that are like super happy in their therapy and their counseling. And I'm going, that's great. And there's an element of this that should be really hard. And it's something to be aware of. So if you're going to counseling or therapy and nothing is getting better, and there's no fruit from that, and the person seems comfortable, here's what I can liken it to. It's like somebody the other day, they're like, Carl, I want you to try this new energy bar. And just as a precursor, I'm an expert in energy bars. Like I've tried it all, right? But this person's like, you're going to love this. And I said, all right, I'm going to take a bite. Took a bite and I'm like, this is not this isn't good. I'll never eat this. Like, you haven't even seen the ingredients. I said, I know, because it tastes too good. Nothing healthy can taste this good. It's impossible. There's a sacrifice to be made. And I looked at the thing, 16 grams of sugar in this protein bar.
Oh, yeah.
Right? My limit's 3 grams. And 4, I can't, don't even look at me with it. I don't even want to see a 4-gram anything.
Funny.
Get it out of my face. It's disrespectful.
I was like, this has 8 grams. You're like, no.
Oh, never. 8 grams of sugar in a bar? Get out of here. But my point is, with health, like if you're enjoying your smoothie after the gym and you think it's healthy, it's not a good smoothie.
It's got 45 grams.
It's not a good smoothie. And it's the same thing with therapy and counseling. Like if it's really working, you should feel it. It should, like, every time I eat one of my protein bars, I'm like, a Snickers would be better.
Well, we have a friend right now going through some pretty
Yeah.
heavy therapy, and it's exhausting
Yeah.
for that person.
Yeah, and I was able to talk to my
And I
friend
love
and
it.
say, "Hey, man, don't feel weird. Like, you should." He's like, "I feel hopeful, but awful. I hate this.
Yeah.
I despise it. I'm gonna go back tomorrow. But am I supposed to feel like this?" I said, "I can only speak my experience. Yes. But in that moment, you got to understand that that's part of growth." And I gave him the old, like, workout thing. Like, if we go to the gym today, we put on an extra 45 on your bench, tomorrow you're going to feel it.
Mm.
Does that mean your workout wasn't good or was good? And I think people need to be ready for that. If you're really going to do the hard work, hey, be ready. If it tastes too good, it cannot be healthy. There's a life principle, maybe even a t-shirt.
Can I add a question in here?
Sure.
Because we get this quite a bit too, but and I think it's good for people to know from your side, what's some things you do, like, outside of physical, nutrition, blah, 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 that stuff, spiritual and just self-work? What do you do every day? What's your routine? Because I think this is really important for if you're married or have been you're in a relationship with someone that is an addict or a recovering addict or whatever it is. This part is really important.
I appreciate the way you asked that question. I can almost feel like you're proud of my answer before I say it. That
Very,
feels
but
good. Thank you.
I think it's really great for
Well,
other couples to know about.
I won't get into it in detail yet. I think we're gonna save it for but my daily routine, the principles are no stone unturned, no minute unaccounted for. So that's kind of the frame. Like this, I don't have the luxury of not planning out my day hour by hour. I don't do it. And if I do it, there's a lot of power. So there's a phrase, if you win the morning, you win the day. Couldn't agree more. Don't know who said it. If no one sends me the direct quote, it's mine. I said it. So get that out into the
I
airwaves.
should Google it.
I've also thought of a new quote called "Let Them." Just came to me right then. And I've thought of an idea for a book called 5 Dysfunctions of a Healthy Team. That'll come out later. And followed by my other book called Purpose Driven Life. Just came to me. But I feel like if I win the morning, I win the day. So I spend the first hour of my day, and I call it like the untouchable hour. I will not check a text. I will not answer a call. I will do nothing but play a loud song for you on my way out.
Sure do. That's
Tell
the
you that I
only
love
annoying
you.
thing that
It's
you do in the
awesome.
morning.
Tell you that I love you, and then I go, and that hour is mine, and I do my work, my soul work, my meditation, my prayer, my gratitude, my focus, my mindset, and then I attack the day. And if that's all I do every day, I win the day. And from there, it's really structured. But I know somebody's serious about their life in general when they do that. But when it's that didactic, it just speaks to intention.
Yeah, and you intentionally text me every morning.
I do.
And that's when I know you're doing your work.
Well, that was
That's
new
part of it.
part of my process has been realizing how you got the last of me instead of the best of me for most of our marriage. And that's a fact. And I didn't know what I know now, but if I really look at it, I'd say, I think, because that's my wife. She knows, she's in, she's good. I'm going to go try to change the world. So in this chapter of life, I've enjoyed, like, you're not going to get the last weary text from me at 4. You're going to get that first one when my eyes are the freshest, my faith is the strongest, my words are clear, and I'm going to tell you exactly who I think you are. And I'm going to add some, romantic seeds to be planted for later. And they are well received at 7 a.m. But that's so my basic soul routine is that. And then from there, we all have different lives, different jobs. But I like asking people, what do you do with the time you can control? That's where the money is.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I live a busy life. Your whole life isn't busy. Well, I got a job from 9 to 5. Well, what do you do from 6 to 7?
Right.
Like, there's always an excuse or there's always an opportunity, depending on which way you want to slice it. So, yeah, that's some of my things that have really brought me a lot of fresh life has been just making sure that never changes. And I look forward to it. I go to bed, I'm like, I can't wait for the morning.
Yeah, you're so funny with it.
I love it.
I
love it. Okay. I'm in a relationship with a man who's physically abusive. What should I do?
Get out. I know that's easier said than done, though, in physical abuse. and any abuse. Find someone you can talk to that you trust that can help you.
Yeah. No, I feel this question. Like I
Mm.
remember Gabby showing it to us, and to me, she sent it, and I just looked at the name with that, and I just thought, I just
Mm.
prayed for that person. I think we hate prescriptive answers. I can't stand it in church at all. It's like we might start a church just for a day, so I can give an example of how not to give a dumb prescriptive sermon. Okay, can't stand it. But I think this beautiful person, who knows what goes into that question? I don't know how much abuse there is. I don't know what the history has been. I do know this. If it was my daughter, I don't have any grace for this.
Yeah.
So I have grace for the person, whoever has abused you. They're worthy of grace. They're worthy of love. They're worthy of help. They're worthy of healing. This is not a judgment or an indictment on them, but my focus is on you, the one who's being abused. And to you, I would say you are worthy of more, and that's not okay. And so I like getting safe immediately and then putting brand new parameters. And I do think physical abuse is different than any other kind of abuse. Doesn't mean it's better or worse. It just means there's always a dangerous element. And I don't think there's a second shot at that. Personally, that's my stance. So if I'm we counsel people in this spot, and it's not easy, but women who say, I've been abused physically, say, okay, how do you feel? What do you want to do? And if that thing is, I want to trust my husband again, I want to move forward, I want to try to heal this marriage, we say, we got you, support you. Our suggestion is if he ever touches you again, it's over. There's nothing that needs to be said. There's nothing that needs to be discussed, because that becomes a cycle. And so that's just something to consider. So if you're in that spot today and maybe you're in so deep you don't know what to do, immediately get some help. Immediately surround yourself with people that have no dog in that fight other than your well-being, and it could end up saving your life. And I think I would go back to that person again, and I would say, like, how do you feel about yourself? And we can end on this. We're almost on time. I don't know if you have more to say, but I talked to Ava Angel before we left for spring break, and I do this with all my kids, especially my daughters right now. And I said, what's your frame? What's your frame going back into school? And they have to give me what their frame is, meaning like what's their mindset. And so Ava said, my frame this last semester, Dad, is I am powerful, I am capable, and I am valuable. And when I tell you, like, tears still gets me sitting here. And the reason why it made me emotional when she said it, because I said, what a powerful word. She said,
Valuable.
yeah, I'm valuable. I said, say more about that. I said, well, she said, when I'm valuable, I feel strong. I feel smart. I feel wise. And when I'm smart and I'm strong and I'm wise, I do A, B, C. And I just thought, valuable, valuable, valuable. So to that woman, I would suggest to maybe try on that word. What would the valuable you do in the face of someone who abuses you? What would the valuable you do when someone speaks to you a way that you do not deserve? And that's my prayer, for whoever is out there that needs to hear this as well. Just be conscious of what you're accepting, because my daughter, what I love, Ava, and I think Charlie uses that in her frame as well. It really clears up. Get a sip of your water. What? What is in there?
It's water.
No, it's not. Disgusting.
You're fine. Keep going.
God. Well, I don't even know where I was because I've
Charlie.
What did you put in there?
It's my beverage.
Oh my gosh. The next episode is going to be called Trapped in a Marriage with a Wife That Spikes Drinks Mid-Podcast. Somebody help me. Charlie uses valuable too. And when a person, especially a young woman, but when she feels valuable, it clears up dating questions, friendship questions. So rather than, Dad, I like this guy, I'm thinking about dating him. Cool. What would the valuable Ava do with that invitation? Well, the valuable Ava would say, hell no. I'm so valuable that you're going to slide in a DM with this corny line? I'm valuable. Valuable women don't do that. Boom. And I just think it's such a powerful frame.
Absolutely.
And it's hard. Shout out to all the men out there that might share my internal tension with that word, because there's a long time where I felt like my value had diminished in my own eyes because of what I walked through. And I've learned, over this chapter to water the value. Like I'm still valuable. I'm more valuable. I'm worth more. And I share that with as many men as I can because they deal with a different type of shame, especially if you've made mistakes and you've repented and you've owned them. Consequences don't go anywhere.
Right.
So the way I frame myself now, when I look back at my past, I say, what would the valuable man, how would he hold what I've walked through? And because I'm valuable, I have to hold it in a healthy way. Because I'm valuable, I'm not allowed to sit in the shame. Because I'm valuable, I'm not allowed to lay down and kind of go back to doing what I used to do. No, I'm valuable. So I get to use that to be a blessing. I get to use that to save my children. I get to use my pain because it's valuable. I get to use it to make my life better and to make our marriage better. And so, yeah, that comes down to framing. And it made me emotional. Think about it. So perhaps there's somebody out there that needs to hear it. You're valuable.
I think everyone needs to remember that word.
You're valuable.
In any sort of abusive or just in general. But there's so many times in life when you're like, hang on a sec, that person said that, like going back to things and you're like, wait, no, I shouldn't accept that.
Yeah.
And I think so many of us just accept a lot of things.
Yeah.
And reminding ourselves that we are valuable, men and women, no matter what you've done and the shame, because you've talked about shame.
Yeah.
I don't think we've done a full
we should
thing
do
on
more.
shame. I think
We'll
you
do
need
more.
to do some more on that.
We'll do more.
But the shame that's so crippling that you can't see anything else but that word and what you've done. And I think that's such a huge thing for you to maybe talk about more is that. But the value thing is huge.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't look in the mirror today and say, I'm valuable.
Yeah.
You have an opportunity to grow.
Right.
Because what if you could? Like, what if you left your house every day and said, I'm valuable? That's a dangerous person in the best way. And I look back at our marriage, like, if I would have understood my value, would I have become addicted to things? No. If you understood your value to the degree you do now, would you accepted some of my answers that I gave you over the years? Would you accepted my tone?
Right.
Would you accepted some of my ebbs and flows? Now I'm too valuable for you to be that inconsistent.
Yeah.
For me, I would have been able to look in the mirror and say, I'm too valuable to go down this road. What am I doing? So sometimes you can find out what you think your real value is by what you do in a day. Because I look at some people's schedules. That's one of the things that I do when I coach people is I say, just give me your schedule. Don't doctor it. Just show me. I'm going to find out who you are in about 2 seconds. And this schedule does not point to a super valuable person. This looks like an average human. What would a valuable schedule look like? So I think there's power in that, and maybe it's a good place to land this plane. So we'll continue this. If this is helpful, I know it's helpful. I shouldn't say it. I know it's helpful, and please keep your questions coming. Let me just give you a huge shout out to everybody that makes Lights On such a cool podcast. We've enjoyed doing it, but you got a lot of choices. Got a lot. There's I think over 19 billion podcasts available today. And so to have people that consistently show up and give feedback and are part of this, that's why we're doing it. And we're really grateful and we love you. So keep it coming with the feedback. Let us know what you'd like us to focus on. And just pray that Laura doesn't like roofie me. Like now I have to really put some checks and balances because next thing I know, I'm drinking something I don't want to drink. So watch yourself, get yourself together. I love you. Anything you want to say in closing?
No.
You wild Australian
I'm excited for
tomcat.
I'm excited for the future of Lights On.
Yeah.
And your podcast.
We do. We have some cool announcements
Got some
coming
cool
up.
stuff coming up.
So stay tuned. It's going to be awesome. So this has been Lights On with Carl and my special guest / co-host.
I'm not your co-host.
Laura Lentz. We're out. Deuces.
Love you.
Love
Lights
you.
off.